Hi, everybody, and welcome to Talkin Shop. I know it's been a little while, but I'm super excited for today. It's like, when you get to hang out with friends and also really incredible people you've looked up to for all your career, just been like floored by their work. That's what we get to do today, because we get to talk to not only Joe Pruett, who's my really good friend and super talented. We get to talk to Jusko, which is like, my mind is blown, because this is the kind of stuff I've lived around all my life. These posters behind me and the really cool Conan covers. And I'm just like, you just stare at it for hours because of all the beautiful art that's on that page. Man. So take this time, do some sharing, tell your friends to join us here. When we come back, we'll get to talking to them. Also, this is a reminder, since we're a live show, you feel free to put all the questions you might have in the comments, and I will get to them. As crazy as they might be, please don't ask me like what everyone's favorite color is. That's kind of bizarre. But if you have a good question, it's always been burning in your mind that you want to ask, please do. This is going to be a fun show. All right, everybody, welcome on Joe Pruett and Joe Jusko.
Hey, guys.
I feel like if you have a J name, you can be on the show right now.
That's what it seems like. It's a club.
J's only.
J's only.
Yeah, I like the poster behind you, Jen.
I know. Okay, so I got to tell you this story because this is hilarious to me. So I already had these really awesome signed bits, but these posters literally walked in the store today. This fellow that I'm buying his collection from him, just mostly comic books. He was like, I have a bunch of posters. And I was like, I don't know. I don't have any more room for posters. I don't know what I would do with them. And he was like, well, let me show them to you. And then I was like, okay, fine. You're going to bring me a She-Hulk lounging about.
I used to love doing those Marvel Press posters. They were so much fun.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that Joe actually posed for the She-Hulk in that poster.
I did. But purple's not my color, apparently.
So this is a question that these posters made me think of. When you are commissioned to do something like this, a poster, for example, do they just let you have carte blanche? Do they just let me like do something Marvel?
Yeah, the posters were very freeing. It was basically, okay, we need a She-Hulk piece, come up with something for the She-Hulk, and you come up with a couple of ideas for the She-Hulk, and you show them to the other, and they approve whichever one they think is going to make a great painting. When you're doing a cover, a lot of time, well, back then at least, they were more or less story specific, unlike now where they're basically just really cool shots of the characters on the cover, and they're more pin-uppy and postery than they were back then. But it's with the posters, you basically had carte blanche to come up with the ideas yourself.
That's awesome. So were you yourself reading any of the material and already had kind of ideas?
At the time, I grew up a Marvel kid. I was a '60s Silver Age Marvel kid. I bought everything. I bought everything. I bought Marvels. I bought DCs. I bought Harveys. But I was a Marvel kid when I was younger, so I was familiar with all the characters and all the storylines and everything else that went along with them. And up until the time, I guess in the '90s when they started to do the multi-issue crossovers where you had to buy like 14 books to follow one storyline, I kind of stopped following it as much as possible, because it was just that it became untenable at that point. But yeah, before that, I was up to date on everything.
So I started in comic books in the '90s, so I was kind of used to everything kind of connects to each other.
Right.
But maybe you guys can tell me, is it true that like before for Marvel and DC, it was more you could pick up any issue off the spinner rack and you were fine because the whole story was pretty much there?
Yeah, well, if you got a 2-part story, it was kind of an event. If you got a 4-part story, it was something absolutely incredible. And most of them were contained within their own books. They would have a crossover every now and then with another character, but they didn't cross over books as much as they did later on. It was they had characters guest star a lot, but everything was pretty much self-contained. Yeah, so it was a lot easier to follow, and also the cast of characters was a lot smaller back then too. You know, now there are just thousands and thousands of characters that you have to know and understand. And you know, I've learned to tell editors at Marvel, like when they ask me to do covers now, I'm like, don't assume I know who these characters are. You have to send me the reference to go along with them because I just don't know anyone.
Yeah, that's the thing I like for people that are aspiring writers for companies with long histories like that. I just feel like, or even like if you wanted to write for Conan, for goodness sakes, like you'd have to like know every storyline that's ever been done. Otherwise, you might retread or tread over.
Yeah, well, that's where the editors come in. The editors of the lines, you know, kind of know what's going on, and everything's been documented now historically. So it's easy to look up characters and storylines now, I guess, because it's become so broad. The spectrum's become so broad with every company. But yeah, it's I guess it would be easy to lose track if if you don't have somebody who really archives all that stuff.
Yeah, when I was writing X-Men comics, 25 years ago, I went back and read 20 years, 25 years worth of X-Men comics because I
Yeah.
kind of tracked during my college years when I discovered girls and booze, and I didn't have a budget for comics anymore. And so I went, then I had to go back and just buy. I bought everything and just read them all, and to the point where I was actually correcting my editor occasionally when they would make a correction to me in the story. I said, "No, X-Men 326, whatever, Bob, they did this."
Right.
But yeah, but if I had to do it again today, go back to another 20 years, wow, it would.
I follow fan pages, like different groups on Facebook now and stuff, and they're talking about the FF movie, and and how the Serpent's a girl, and I was on Earth 628. I said, there's an Earth 628. I had no idea, and they know all of this stuff like inside and out, and it's all stuff that has completely flown past me because I just don't follow the books the way I did when I was younger.
Either.
Do you have any favorite sites that or Facebook pages that you follow for actual good information?
I follow a lot of the 60s Marvel stuff. There's like Marvel comics from 61 to 1986 is one page. There's old guys who like old comics, which suits me perfectly because it covers all the stuff I grew up reading. I belong to more groups, Monster Model, Aurora pages, and just all kinds of stuff. My every interest I had when I was a kid, if there's a group for it, I follow it.
Wow.
It's amazing.
I
think it's really cool now to be a fan of comic books because it used to be very much like you had to go and sit around a comic book store, which you still can, and that's awesome. But if you were like needing to have some information, you couldn't rely on I think my friend Bill read some of those books, so I'll go and ask Bill. This is like having a bunch of friends from all over the world that probably have read many things.
Yeah, I learned. What's that? I learn stuff every day. I'm one of the. I'll just I'll scroll every now and then at night and just to see what's going on, and I'll pop onto a couple of those pages, and invariably there'll be somebody talking about something I didn't know. So I learned something about what's going on in the continuity of either Marvel or DC Comics almost every single day that I just don't know.
Me growing up, the only people I had to talk to about comics was my two brothers.
Yeah.
It was so a small society at the time. I'll give you an example. Is like when I went to college. I guess I came back my freshman year, and a new comic shop had opened up recently in the area, and I went in there, and one of my better friends from high school was in there buying comics. I didn't know he collected. So we were like, it was such a small world, and we just kept to ourselves at the time.
Yeah. It was your friends in the neighborhood. You had 2 or 3 of them who bought comics, and that was it. And you hung out with them, and you talked about comics and traded stuff back and forth. But yeah, it wasn't quite the major fan base that it is now. I'm sure there were groups of kids in different neighborhoods, but I had like 1 or 2 kids that read comics also, and we would all buy stuff together and trade stuff back and forth.
So where did you, when you were kids, where did you guys, where did you go find books to buy them? Where was your favorite place to go find things?
Joe?
Well, okay, fine. I would just go to the local convenience store down the street or something like that, 7-Eleven or something similar to that in the area. that's the only place I could buy comics. Or in Eckerd Drugs. I remember buying at Eckerd Drugs a lot in the mall. But we didn't have any local comic shops. First one I discovered was in Athens, Georgia. I'm from Georgia, and I went in there. And it was more of a comic, but it was more old paperbacks and also albums. And I remember the first comic shop I went to, that one, and the guy who was working there actually, I found out later, was one of the founding members of REM.
Oh wow!
So I used to buy my comics. First comic shop I went to, I used to buy from one of the founding members of REM. Which if I remember, I thought he was kind of rude, but I was a little kid. I was a little kid bugging. How much is this? How much is that?
Yeah, we
kind of the demeanor of most comic book store owners during that era.
Well, if you remember, it's like they actually look like stores now. When I was a kid, like any shop that sold comic books, unless it was like a candy store or a newsstand where you bought the new books, the places that sold the older books all had like bare floors and fluorescent fixtures hanging from bare ceilings. They were vacant storefronts that basically some guy threw some boxes in and they would sell comics out of there. Like I had one place. There was a record store, a Spanish record store around the corner from where I lived, and the owner looked like Dr. Octopus. It killed me when I was a kid. He was a little guy. He had like the banged haircut and the glasses. He looked just like Dr. Octopus, and it used to freak me out. But he had two piles. He had two piles of old comics behind the counter, and one was 10 cents, one was 25 cents if they were older. So I put together like runs of Spider-Man and the Avengers and stuff, from this Spanish record store. And then there was a place called Movie Memories on 3rd Avenue. I grew up in Manhattan, right off of St. Mark's Place. And they sold old movie stills, but they also sold comics. So you could, if you bought the older comics, they were like I think Avengers 2 through 10 there for $1 a piece. And if you spent $10, you got to get another book for free. So these places were great, because back then, I'm talking like early mid 70s, that's how you could buy books back then. But there were no actual comic shops back then.
So so you talked about St. Mark's, and that's where the famous comic book store St. Mark's is on. So when did that show up?
That was in the late 80s, mid late 80s, I guess. Yeah, I mean, the first real comic store. I worked in a comic store actually in high school called Black Star Comics, and it's one of those places with the bare floors and the wooden boxes full of comics, because it was owned by a guy who owned a moving and storage company, and all the stuff that people wouldn't pick up from the storage units, he opened up a storefront and would sell everything out of this store. And he realized that the comics was selling better than everything else. So he had a guy who worked for him that knew comics, and he switched the store over to only comics. I used to go in there and buy comic books. I befriended the guy. I started working there. And then I think junior or senior year of high school, I was actually running the place. I'd get off school and I'd go open up the store on weekdays. I would open it on weekends and everything. And then the first real comic store, I guess, was Village Comic Art on 6th Avenue and 3rd Street, West 3rd Street. And that was a real store. This is right after the direct market started and everything. So it was clean. It looked like a business. Super Snipe was another one that was uptown. So they started to switch over probably late 70s. I think you start to see them be taken more seriously as a business and not these little hole in the wall places that just sold old books.
It's like, it sounds like, at least in your friend's case, it was like they had converted it over from being some other kind of business. It was just waiting for there to be more people interested, or there to be showing a demand.
Well, yeah, well, his was purely a monetary decision. I mean, he had this store full of secondhand stuff that people left in storage units, and it was just taking up space. And the comics sold, so his friend, well, I guess one of the guys who worked for him, said, "Hey, let's just do comics," and they turned it into a comic store. It lasted a few years. Because it was really just a last minute business idea that this guy had, and then the real stores kind of took over.
What's so funny is that now, because of the shows that are on TV, like Storage Wars and that kind of stuff, that kind of shop probably would do really, really well if it was just like
yeah, probably
blow it out.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it, because everything at this point is somehow worth money. Back then nobody cared.
Trust me, because I spend some time with my mom on the days off when I go see her now, going to resale shops, and you can really see a difference in the way people are buying things.
Yeah.
It's like you can tell they're with their phone open, looking at pricing.
Yeah, right. That's right. They look stuff up automatically, and with the price guide, the advent of the price guide, everyone knew that these books were worth. You used to be able to go to a flea market and get them for 5-10 cents a piece, and then people got the price guide. You start to see the prices and the stickers on the books after a while. It's like, oh man, it's like the good days are over because people know what this stuff was worth now.
Do you think? Okay, so here's a good question about this. Is a part of comic book as a actual business. Do you think that part was important for comic books to have continued to be like a more serious art form, that it did need to have some kind of idea of a secondary monetary value for them?
I don't know. From a business point of view, I really don't know. They've been talking about the demise of comics for 50 years, and and they're still here. The advent of the movies, I know, kind of popularized the characters. When I was younger and I was first in the business and working, and people would ask me what I did for a living, I would told them I drew comic books. They looked at me like I had 3 heads, and the question was always, "Wow, you make a living doing that?" And now it's like it's like tell people I work for Marvel Comics, and they all think that I'm like a zillionaire. It's like I work for Marvel Comics, I don't own it.
So we've talked a lot about our past. I still want to delve into that, but more focused in here about your beginnings were as a professional person in comic books instead of like maybe working in comic book stores or enjoying them as an art form yourself. Joe Pruett. This is horrible because I can't just say Joe. Hey, Pruett.
Okay.
To give everybody a little idea of how you chose this industry as kind of like more of a business.
Well, like the other Joe, the lesser Joe, I grew up reading comics, and like lesser Joe, or should I just call you Little Joe?
Yeah,
okay.
that works.
Little Joe. Okay. And then in high school, there's a little comic shop opened up in my hometown, so I started working there a little bit, weekends and stuff like that. And so when I graduated college, I had kind of, like I said, dropped out of comics for a little bit in college years because I had other things, taking my interest. And so when I finally had a serious girlfriend at the end of college, she's now my wife, I would go visit her in the summer when she would work as a waitress, and I would drive around town because I didn't want to hang out at her parents' house. And I found a comic book store there, and I started collecting again. Then I realized I started collecting. One of the books I started collecting was a book called Flaming Carrot Comics, which I guess at the time was coming from Dark Horse, but before that from Hardware Van Heem and Dave Sims Company. And I just thought it was fascinating. Then I realized that Bob Burden, the creator, lived in Atlanta, which is where I was going to be moving to. I also realized he went to the University of Georgia, which I actually went to the University of Georgia as well. And I also noticed he used assistants because he credited them in his comics. I thought, well, that's fascinating. So I just wrote him a letter out of nowhere and just introduced myself. And about 3 weeks later, to my surprise, he called me up and told me to come visit him, then offered me a job to be his assistant. That's how I broke into comics, get my foot in the door. I think I was going to be an artist, but then when first people you meet in the business are, Brian Ballin, Dave Stevens, Bernie Wrightson, Al Williamson, Dave Sim, them, I realized I am not going to be an artist. I am nowhere near this talented or disciplined. So I became a writer, then became an editor, then eventually became a publisher and a career director, then a publisher. And that's how I broke in, just find a way of meeting Bob, meeting his friends, making connections along the way, and just started, making phone calls or sending letters.
Take some of the mystery out of what a publisher is. What does a publisher do? What does the title mean?
Publisher takes all the orders for lunch for the rest of the company and then goes picks it up.
The word vampire comes to mind.
No. Well, for me, publishers are different things, are different companies, I guess. But for me, I was creative director at Caliber Comics. I wasn't a publisher. Gary Reed was. I was like number 2. My brother and I were number 2s. And then I started my own company, Desperado Publishing, and then eventually helped found Aftershock Comics. So that's probably pretty much did everything. At Aftershock, because that was me, and then I had like one employee. At Aftershock, which was a bigger company with more money and stuff like that. No, I was the first comic person in the company. I identify like Mike Martz to go, who was at Marvel at the time, as the X-Men editor, to come in and maybe be our editor in chief. I went and recruited him in. And then I would be responsible for like game planning or publishing slate. No, Mike pretty much kind of took over controlling all the books as far as like making sure, they got out the door to the printers and to the press and everything, and worked with other creators. I didn't really do that as much as I thought I would have. It was more his sphere. As for me, I just kind of game planned, well, here's what we're going to put out for the month. Here's what's the ideas we can do to build an audience, what's formats we can try, what kind of types of books should we be doing. Of course, we would all decide on what we published as a group and just vote on it. And most people voted would win. It wasn't always me winning, but it wasn't always me losing either. But so I had my hands a little bit everything. I also ran the conventions for us. I dealt with the printers and the distributors for us. So I had my hands, like throughout my whole career, doing a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So,
so it is pretty much what I thought. It's like anything that needed to get done in a company.
Yeah, at Caliber, not only was I creative director, I recruited a lot of the new talent. I recruited books that are already being made in small presses that were underneath the umbrella at Caliber. I edited tons of books. If we need to get stuff out the door, shipping, I'll go down the warehouse and start shipping stuff out. We need a book letter and didn't have time to get to a letter because at that time we sent everything through the post. I'll say, give it to me. I'll letter it real quick. So, and then again, Desperado, do a little bit of everything. That's how I met. I didn't meet Joe Desperado, but we first hooked up was doing the first art Joe Jusko book. And when I started doing the art books, I actually had a couple of designers I was hiring to do the books. Brian Ballin, the first one, and they both kind were to say flaked out on me. So I finished just said, fine, I'll do it myself. And I wasn't a designer, but I learned how to do it. So by the time I get to Joe's and some later ones, I felt like I was actually getting pretty good at it. The first one, when the Eisner Sticker one got nominated, so I had a good start. So again,
sometimes it's just out of necessity, right? That you learned how to do those things. Just had to get done.
Exactly. But I'm also kind of the person, I don't like to do one thing and just do it. I want to do a little bit of everything. So now I'm back to being a writer and going back to doing art books again. I haven't done it in 10 years or so because I miss doing it and I had fun doing it. So this time in my life, when I'm a solo person, I want to do what I enjoy doing. I enjoy writing. I enjoy work with my friends. So let's do that.
Wow. All right, we've got some interesting questions coming in, Mr. Jusko.
Okay.
Unknown just joined and saw your shirt. Are you from Pittsburgh or just a Steelers fan?
No, I was born and raised in Manhattan, but I became a Steelers fan when I was about 10 years old because I liked the color of their uniforms, and they won four Super Bowls right after that. So I guess I picked the right team. Yes, I've been I've been a Yankee fan my entire life, kind of born and raised. My father would kill me if I rooted for anybody else, but I've been a Steelers fan since I was about 10. And then I ended up living in Pittsburgh actually for about 15 years.
It's so beautiful, that place.
It's people still think it's like a steel town, coal mine town, and it's not. It's a totally different vibe than people expect it to be. I really like Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it's so green. It's just
and so it's all developed. It's there's a lot of tech. Depending, you can live. The downtown area is really full of life and bars and clubs and restaurants, and then the outer areas are where most people live are different depending what area you want to go to. But yeah, it's a great city. It's a really great city.
There when I met you, so I met you in '97, maybe.
Yeah, I was there from '94 until 2008 when I moved to Syracuse.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
And then someone has spotted that you have mustard in your art supplies. They want to know why.
Oh, it's not mustard. What they are is I found that if you buy because I use Liquid Tech soft body acrylics, and if you buy the big tubs of them, you can just fill mustard. This is cadmium yellow. This is cadmium red light. Is cadmium red. So the condiment containers are good for spritzing out the paint on your palette.
Oh, that's
He's
so
just
smart.
always
They
great
keep
to
it
eat.
from drying out too.
Yeah, yeah, and when you have the small bottles of paint like this, it turns out that the Keurig, my wife came up with this idea. The Keurig coffee cup holders are
Brilliant.
great for holding your paint. So I can thank my wife for coming up with that one.
So this is my question. Are you acrylic or oil or both?
I'm acrylic. I've been acrylic almost my entire. Well, I was mixed media when I first started because I really didn't know how to use any medium properly because I'm a totally self-taught painter. So the summer I graduated high school, the summer I graduated high school, I won the DC Comics Award of Excellence in Cartooning, which was basically a letter from DC and a $50 gift certificate to an art supply store. So I bought a bunch of different paints. I bought some oils. I bought some acrylics. I bought some gouache, and I started to play with the different mediums. And didn't like oils, so I discarded them really quickly. But didn't know how to use any one medium properly. So all of my early covers for Marvel and all of the early stuff that I did, they're all mixed media. They're gouache, they're ink, they're magic marker, they're acrylics, they're all kinds of stuff. And then, like I guess around 1990, a little after that, I kind of switched over. I figured I had to pick one medium and learn how to use it properly. So I chose acrylics because it fit the way I like to work.
I was getting a little bit, other side. I was getting a little obsessed with your, like, how you got the denim effect here on these pants.
On the Spider-Man piece.
Yeah.
That's basically watercolors and colored pencil. The color, because there's a little bit of a tooth to the illustration board that I was working on. And if you just use the colored pencil lightly on it, you will look at the tooth of the denim. And it was a really cool effect. I was really proud of the jeans on that poster actually. Because it came out looking like that. Yeah. It's one of the things that I kind of made up on the fly to figure out how to get that effect, and it worked out really well.
Mm-hmm. All right, there was a question up pretty far. How can you find it? I think it was about Aftershock. There you go. Sean asked, when it came to Aftershock, what do you feel made it different from other publishers? I feel like y'all had one of the best catalogs of consistent, great books.
Okay, thanks for that. Aftershock was 9 years of my life. I think what made it a little different is why we did have, I guess you could say, Hollywood money. We weren't a corporation per se, so they kind of left Mike and myself alone to curate the publishing line of comics and trusted us to do a good job. So it was really, what you saw at Aftershock was more me and Mike getting pretty much free reign for the most part and what we like to publish.
Yeah, having been to many kind of like dinners with the people that were kind of behind the scenes, the supporting guys, I could see that they were very passionate, and they let the creators fly, which is really awesome. Oh, so this is a good question. We're going to get there, Blake. I know everyone thinks I forgot what we're here to talk about, but I don't. I want to get all the fun get to know you questions done first. You guys keep on throwing things in the comments, because whatever you want to ask us, we should totally put it up there.
Right. I'm on my phones. I'm having a hard time reading the comments.
That's okay. I will just read it out loud.
Or not?
So Blake's Buzz says, a question for Joe Pruett. How's your first Kickstarter campaign feeling?
Well, I'm feeling okay with it. It's kind of exciting. I have a good team working with me, helping me throughout the Kickstarter. It's a learning experience for sure. I've never done one of these before. I've always been I've been afraid to do one because it seemed like a lot of work, and I'm a very lazy guy at heart. But knowing that I had Joe here with me, little Joe here with me to help me out with the Kickstarter, and I knew we had a great product and it would definitely be a success. It kind of took a little fear away, because I didn't go in thinking, what if we can do it? I went in thinking, how much can we do?
Yeah.
How big will this be? Because I think it's going to be big. It's already big. So we're also we're doing a good start, great start. A week into it, and I'm very happy with it. Yeah,
people I've spoken to, I've never done a Kickstarter, but people I've spoken to, it's like they're everyone to a T is people don't realize how much work it is. They all think it's like, okay, you collect all this money and that's it, you made all this money. But then you got to produce the book, and you got to have it printed, and you got to have it shipped, and there's a lot more to kickstarting than just collecting the money. And people, I think a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah.
So what do
And
you
what I did with this
up
one
with your?
is that, I'm sorry, Jen. What I did with this
I
one
was
is that we made sure we had, 90% of the books already done.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to have to, after the fact, then try to do the book like a lot
Right.
of stories do. This thing was done going into it for the vast majority of it. So I
Yeah,
feel very
I think we have to tweak maybe 10 pages and maybe add and
Yeah.
delete a couple things here and there.
Yeah.
But the book is
And
already I wrote all the copy for it already because I don't like art books that just have the pictures in there, sort of like a postcard book. I like when the artist actually talks about the work and explains, gives a little insight behind what the history of the piece or some kind of anecdote about while he was working on it. So I wrote. I did like I did with the first book. I wrote commentary for almost every piece in the book because
yeah,
I think people find that interesting more so than
that's
just
what I
looking at the
want. Yeah.
pieces. Yeah,
That's been a trademark of the books I've always done. The 10 before this is that it's always in the artist's voice, with one exception. But yeah, Joe did all the commentary in the first one. He's doing all the commentary this one because you can why want to buy a pinup book? This is not a pinup book.
right.
This is his career. This is an overview of his career in his voice. So
And I'm assuming, Mr. Pruett, you did the design work on this, or was there some?
yeah,
Or was
I've
it
done all the design work on it. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I did for all the other ones.
Mhm. Well, those are all beautiful because I've got a few of those here at the store.
He's got some skills.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So so here's just like inside baseball question, Mr. Jusko. If you're
Okay.
gonna do a piece that was just like pick something random, we'll talk about She-Hulk behind me.
Okay.
How long from planning until finish is your normal work?
Okay. That really is going to depend on how complex the piece is, and how big I decide to paint it. I've done covers overnight, and I've done covers that have taken me 2 weeks, 2-3 weeks. That poster obviously was with the original is I did all the posters, poster size. So they were all like 22 or 24 by 34, something like that. But I painted the full size just to make sure because I don't like when you blow work up. When you blow work up, it tends to fall apart. So if I know it's going to be a poster, I tend to paint it poster size. The Mary Jane poster, while it was 5 feet tall, was still about 3 feet tall, I think, the original, and they blew it up and it held together pretty well. But I knew they were going to blow it up, so I painted it extra tight. It depends. Like I said, I've taken on jobs for guys who needed stuff in a hurry, and did it from start to finish in a 24 or 36 hour stint. So it varies. It really does vary. That's a younger guy's deal though. Is like staying up for a day and a half to paint something. I don't know if I can do that now because I tend to crash out after about 14 hours. But yeah, it really does. It matter. It depends on complexity and size.
Do you have anything that you feel like is kind of your more favorite style to paint in? Is it comic book style, or I guess Conan is officially comic book style, but
Yeah.
your swords.
Yeah, I do a lot of superhero stuff. I grew up a superhero fan. I wanted to be the next John Buscema. But as I got older and my interest expanded, I found I was more interested in more reality based characters. So I liked Conan. I liked all the Burroughs, Edgar S. Burroughs characters. I liked the reason I did the Tomb Raider graphic novel was because I really liked the adventure aspect of the character. She wasn't a superhero and it's all natural backgrounds and stuff. So while I do a ton of superhero stuff, my preference is really the more reality-based characters.
That's awesome. It's so funny to hear you say Conan is a reality-based character. Like I've never met anyone with that many muscles on muscles.
Well, he's not a superhero though. It's like it's cities and horses and real people and clothing and stuff like that. Tarzan's in a jungle and there are lions and animals because I love painting animals. So that kind of stuff I love. If I had to paint, I think a 40-page Fantastic Four or Superman graphic novel, I would shoot myself in the head. I don't know if I could do it.
That's a lot. So did you have to do a lot of? You said you're self-taught, but I feel like the human body is something you have to really actually kind of study a little bit. Did you?
Oh yeah, sure. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
From images, or did you Like have a book that talked about muscles, or
I did years of life drawing. I took life drawing classes on the side. I worked out incessantly when I was younger, and that helps you learn how the body works. I bought every art book. I'm an avid collector of art book and anatomy books and art instruction books. I bought every book that an artist had that had a technique section in the back, and I would sort of read through the technique section, and I would try to cobble stuff from there as to how they worked, and it's just practice and repetition is what it is really. It's you have to want to know how things work. You look at artwork that is accurate and looks good, and you figure out why it looks that way, and then you try to study enough to be able to duplicate what you looked at to get it to look the way you want it to look. And so, yeah, it's been 50 years of trial and error, basically, at this point.
do you have any of those books that you found to be exceptionally helpful that you might recommend to hopefuls here that are watching?
Sure. I mean, and honestly, you don't need a big expensive book. There's a guy named John Hamm, Hamm, that has a series of 4 different books out. One is The Head and Figure, one is Animals. I think there's one on landscapes, and there's one on something else. And those books are I think invaluable to anybody who wants to draw comics, as far as like easily instructing you on how to do anatomy and draping on clothing and stuff like that. The Loomis books obviously are probably the most popular of all the instruction books that you could possibly buy, and they were really expensive for years and years and years because they were out of print. I mean, I spent hundreds of dollars a piece on those books, and then they reprinted them all about 10 years ago. They started to reprint them. They're online now. You could buy them in Barnes and Noble for I think $25 a piece. But they're invaluable. I don't think there's an artist in my business that doesn't worship the Andrew Loomis books. So those are the books I would recommend.
That's awesome. You guys make sure you're posting questions in the comments, and we'll be happy to answer them, get them answered for you. Go ahead, Joe.
And then you apply that stuff. If you're going to do superhero comics later, you apply that stuff to superheroes, but you have to learn how to draw properly first.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so Mr. Pruett, you said that you started out fancying yourself an artist. So do you still do art just for your own joy?
No, I gave it up years ago. Here's the thing with life. When you start having kids, and they start doing stuff that you used to do and they're better than you, and then you walk away. I used to play the piano. My second daughter started taking piano. Within 2 years, she was playing state competitions.
Wow.
Being told that nobody been playing for 2 years can play this song, but here she is doing it in a competition. I don't play around her anymore. My youngest daughter, Lydia, is she's an art major at a local university here. And overnight, she became phenomenally good. I look at her, and she's designing logos for my comics now. She's actually probably going to do a cover for one of my new books at Image as well. And she just got her first commission piece for a smaller press company not too long recently. So she's good, and so I don't draw around her because what's the point? And I just feel old and useless.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. My wife is really talented. She plays the piano and the violin, and she draws. But I came down from the studio one day, and she was drawing like this beautiful female head, and I was like, "Did you just do that?" She goes, "Yeah, I was bored, so I did this." But she compares herself to me, so she doesn't do it anymore. I'm like, you can't do that. If it brings you joy, and it's what you want to do, then you do it.
We had a couple people waxing nostalgic over in the comments about the long-haired Superman. Everyone loves long-haired soups.
Right.
Thanks for giving us long-haired soups. I also like that one.
Yeah. Well, I did the long-haired Superman that I did. Was supposed to be for a Superman Elseworlds card set, and that was at the time when he had the long mullet. And I got about 30 pages. It was 10 different storylines of 9 cards each that were going to make up each binder page would be a separate story of him in a different timeline. And I got through, I think, 3 or 4 of them before I believe Fleer bought out Skybox and they canceled the set. So that set never got produced.
comic cards are coming back, because for a long time I didn't have anyone asking for them or want them. And now I get asked for them all the time. I think it's really cool, because I do miss those kinds of sets where you would put your 9 pocket pages together and it would be an image or something really cool.
Well, the market, obviously, I know something about trading cards, from the Marvel Masterpiece stuff. But when I resurrected the property back in 2016, I assumed that the market was still the same, and they were still mass marketed, and they went to stores and shops, and kids bought the packs. And apparently, I found out that it's more geared toward a very high end collector base now. So most people didn't even know I did this 2016 set, because they were really expensive and they were really rare and really limited. And I think it would be great if there were mass market card sets again. I don't know. I think it's going to take somebody to just take a gamble on them to see how well they do in stores and shops and stuff. Because I still sign at conventions. I would say 85% of what I sign is still those 92 Marvel Masterpiece cards. It's crazy the things that they've
real
had.
quick, Joe, on our Kickstarter for the book of Jusko, we do have a 6-card trading card set of Joe's originals,
Right.
Both
Okay.
unsigned and signed editions. So feel free to go buy that.
I backed it for the regular books, but I didn't see there was a way to get the cards. So add that as a tier for me.
Yeah, you scroll up. It's like the first thing you see it. Now you go to the right.
There it is.
There's the regular unsigned, and
Beautiful.
then you scroll up a little bit more, and there's the signed editions. So all these will be signed here by the man himself.
That's beautiful. Now is that all previously published art somewhere?
Yeah.
Or are those original?
Yeah, it's all stuff that I did, the creator owned stuff, because obviously it's kind of hard to do them when they're licensed properties. So yeah, it's all stuff that I've done. I have private commissions or stuff for myself, or previously published stuff that I own the rights to.
Oh yeah. William Holland asks, Mr. Jusko, been a fan of your work for years. Who are your artistic inspirations? Ooh, that's a good question.
As I said earlier, I mean, I grew up wanting to be John Buscema. I was 8 years old. I was in a playground in Stuyvesant Town, and there was a kid selling comic books in the playground, and I bought a couple of books off him, and 2 of the books I bought from him were Avengers 57 and 58, and the first Vision stories. And I saw John Buscema's work, and I was like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. And I was already drawing at the time, because my older brother bought comics. My father liked reading them. So there were always comics around. And once I saw his work, I just decided that's what I want to do. And I kind of had tunnel vision from the time I was 8, and decided that I was going to do that for a living. It never occurred to me that I might not do that, but because I was determined I was going to do it. And as you get older, you get exposed to more art, and influences come from everywhere. So when I switched over to painting, my influences were obviously, at the time in the late 70s, Boris Vallejo, Frank Frazetta, Bob Larkin. When I first started working for Marvel, was a really big influence on me, because he worked people actually confuse my work with his a lot of the time, because I learned so much from looking at his work when I first started. And then it went from there to the 50s and 60s paperback artists like Bob McGinnis and movie poster guys like Frank McCarthy, and wildlife artists. I'm a big wildlife art fan. So my inspirations, it's been 50 years of just a vacuum of stuff that came in. Awesome. But I started out a comic book guy, and John Buscema, I learned to draw by copying his work when I was a kid. So there's still so much of him in my work. If you look closely at it, you can see the way figures are posed, or scenes are composed, and figures are the anatomy on figures and stuff like that, and proportions. There's still a lot of John left in my work. So he's probably been my main influence.
That's awesome. Okay. Is it Fox Inc? Man, I also need glasses. Better glasses. Says, will you still be doing more Conan covers? What do you think about the new Conan comics?
I like them a lot. I think they did a great job of resurrecting the book and keeping the feel of the character true to what the character should be. When I heard they were doing the Savage Sword of Conan. They're bringing that back. I was like, there was no way I couldn't be on the cover of Savage Sword #1, because that was one of the things that were the first cover runs I ever had up at Marvel. So I contacted them, and I've done like I think 3 covers for them so far. And I'm available, if they need me. But my main focus right now is the Edgar Rice Burroughs project that I'm working on. So if I could fit in more Conan covers, I would. But I think the books are great. I love Rob Del Toro's work. And it's just they did a great job.
Yeah. I wrote a story for an upcoming Savage Sword Conan. It's a Belit short story.
Oh, cool.
It'll be up end of the year, so I guess.
That's awesome. I actually picked one up the other day because I follow Liam Sharp, and he was talking about his work in there.
Yeah.
And I hadn't, I guess, I don't know why I didn't think this, because I'm so used to reading like the past Conan stories that they've been doing, which is like one story in the book. I didn't realize it was so many cool little snippet stories, and I was just like blown away by how awesome it was.
Yeah, Liam is a very, very good friend of mine, and he's doing some of the best work I've ever seen. I mean, that last story that he had in there, there were so many panels on it that looked like Hal Foster, and cross between Hal Foster and Barry Smith, and it was just the amount of detail that he is able to get into his work as quickly as he does, and how much work he produces is astonishing to me.
And the detail
you can tell
level.
it's a passion project for him. He also wrote the introduction to our art book.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. He wrote the introduction to my art book, speaking of him being a friend of mine.
All right, Art and Times of J. Ryan wants to know about the Edgar Rice Burroughs project. You picked
okay. Well, I've been commissioned by Edgar Rice Burroughs Inc. to produce all new painted covers for every book that Burroughs wrote. So it's like 80 books altogether. So I've completed the entire Tarzan series at this point, and I don't know how this happened, but it seems that even though the book is the character is 110 years old, and so many incredible artists have worked on that character, I'm the first person to ever paint all 24 book covers for the series, which shocked me. I still don't know how that's possible. I'm working on the John Carter books now. I'm almost done with those. And then it's on to Pellucidar, and then Casbeck, and all the other books, and all the individual novels and stuff that he did. So that's the project I've wanted for, I think, my entire career. So I'm so psyched to have it.
They're looking amazing.
Do you know how they're going to release them? Is it going to be like something that's a mass market release, like Barnes and Noble kind of level, or
they're available now? I know they're self-publishing them. You can get them on the Edgar Rice Burroughs Inc. website. It's at edgarriceburroughs.com. They've got all 24 of the, and they're nice. They're really nice editions. They're big, thick hardcovers that I've done frontispieces for everyone also. That reproduce all the original text. They went back and they revised the text the way Burroughs originally wrote them. In the back of each book, they have like pages and pages and pages of historical notes and letters and artwork and all kinds of stuff for each title. So the books are really beautiful books. They've done a great job putting them together. So the all 24 Tarzan books are available, and I think the first 8 Mars books are available right now on edgarriceburroughs.com.
I have to make room on my shelves.
Yeah, they're a great package. They really are.
So let's talk more about the Kickstarter, because that's what we want to make sure everybody gets in and gets what they want before it ends, and they don't have regrets. Because I do that sometimes. I'm like, I'll get it on the last day. Oops, I missed it. That's not good. That's why I went ahead and backed it. So, how many pages?
It's 230 and growing. 230 plus. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I just found more stuff today that I realized we hadn't stuck in there. I sent it off to Joe. I'm sure he's thrilled with me.
I'm always thrilled with you, Joe. So yeah, we'll be adding some more pages beyond the 230-ish.
Hardcover?
Hardcover is 9x7 hardcover, just like all my other editions were. The first art of Joe, Jusko, and all the other ones. So now, well, 2 of them weren't 9x7, but 9x12s, 9x12s. So yeah, big, hard, nice hardcovers, high quality paper, high quality stock, full cover.
Are there versions of it? I saw that there was like a really gorgeous cover with, I think it was a lion.
Yeah, that's the slipcase for the Masterpiece edition.
Oh wow!
So, yeah, like I said, I'm a frustrated wildlife art fan. So I had a guy commission me that lion head a few years ago, and I just had the biggest ball painting that lion, and it's been used for like a poster. I was a guest of honor at an art symposium last year, and they used that lion head. And the guys commissioned me now to do a tiger when I have a moment, so I'll have a companion piece to it.
Yeah, it's just beautiful, isn't it?
I mean, that cover, you can hear it. It's like I can feel the reverberation of his growl or roar there that he's got going on. You know how they got that like rumble in their chest?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Got it in his face.
If I could take a year off and do nothing but big cat paintings, I would be thrilled. It's something I've always wanted to do. Been fascinated with like the really the top tier wildlife artists like John Siri Lester and Simon Combs and Robert Bateman. So yeah, it would be a joy to be able to do that, but I don't know how I'm going to be find that possible.
Yeah, that's why I matched the version cover here with the lion slipcase. There's another line here. There's a story behind this cover here, Joe, right?
Oh, the girl and the lion. Yeah, I traded. I did that in trade for a commission from Joe Sinnott. I'm a big fan of the early issues of the Silver Surfer, and I had Joe recreate the very first Mephisto splash for me from Silver Surfer 3, and I did this as a trade for him doing that piece for me.
Good trade.
Yeah, Joe is amazing. He was 90 years old when he did it, and you can't tell it apart from the piece that's in the book. It's an astonishing piece. It's hanging in my studio.
So this one looks like it comes with like a original sketch in it. Is that true?
No, that was a tip and play. So this is signed edition. So it'll be an additional page, embedded into the book itself. Signed and numbered by Joe.
So, okay. So if people are cray and they want to have everything, is there an everything tier?
Well, no, it's one book. The interior is the same for all books. So, you can do add-ons though. So if you buy the book, you can add on the trading cards, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. Anyone else have any more questions? You got full access for asking the questions. Been burning in your heart for a long time, so don't miss it. When does the Kickstarter finalize?
23 days. So the 18th of September is the end date.
And you guys don't have to worry because it's well over its expected amount. So it's definitely going to be made, as they say, it's already made.
It's ready to go to press as soon as I get the print.
Right.
I'll send it out, the week of it ending.
Yeah, and as Blake says, you could add anything to it on top of the pledge.
I'm sorry?
Blake's was pointing out that you can add any and all versions of the book on top of the pledge, and as well as the cards. That's a good point.
Yeah, so if we get the book out the door the week of, then it should be back in the States into the collector's hands, depending on holiday shipping and stuff, of course. I would guesstimate in November, 1st of December, so it should be back in time for Christmas. So
that would be great. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. I loved what you did with the first book, which is why when you asked me if I wanted to do a follow-up, I was more than happy to do it because I knew the book was going to look great. And everything I've seen so far, going through it and proofing it and everything, it looks fantastic.
Thank you. Well, it's easy to do when I have a good artist to work with.
Mr. Pruett, I know you're working on a bunch of other things too. You want to is there anything you can talk about that you'd like to get everyone excited about?
Sure. FOC in this week for you, Jen, is my new series I'm doing at Image called Viking Moon with Marcelo Fruzen. You might know from Vertigo with Hellblazer and Loveless with Azzarello. So that comes out. We pushed about a week to September 24th because we're going to be adding some extra covers to the first issue. And nice. I had a bunch of them come in this weekend. They're really sweet and nice. I have good friends. So we're doing that. Like I said, I mentioned doing a Savage Sword of Conan, a Belit short story sometime soon coming up. I'm also going to do something I have a short story in Hello Darkness from Boom coming out. I think they told me in December as well.
Wait, is it going to be top level scary? Are you going to mess with me?
I hope so. I hope so. So, and that's with Stevan, is it Subic, Serbian artist. He's pretty, really enjoy his work. So I got a thrilled to be working with him. And then I have like 2 more series come out in the Image in the next first quarter of the next year. I'll be doing a one shot of my old series, Curious here. I used to do at Caliber in the 90s. I've always wanted to come back to the character and play around a little bit. So I'm kind of a little redefine the character and see if there's a new audience for him or not. So that'll be coming out the first quarter. And then another series I'm doing called, none of these 2 aren't announced, Outside the Box with Wando, which we hope to be an ongoing series, also coming in the Image. It came, we did a short story. Yeah. We did a short story in my Voices in the Head one shot last October. So we're expanding from that as a series. A few things here and there I'm not thinking of.
You mentioned what you're truly going to be probably painting forever to finish out the Edgar Rice Burroughs project. But is there anything else you've got your hands on?
Yeah, I just did a cover for Steve Niles. I'm a big fan of his character Cal McDonald. He's sort of a film noirish monster hunting private eye. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the character, but he has a new book coming out with a bunch of short stories based on the character, and he asked me if I wanted to do the cover, and I came up with a really cool sort of like a Robert McGinnis-y with monsters cover for the book. So it's a very retro 60s looking book, and I had a lot of fun with that. I did a cover for Mark Miller's new book, Psychic Sam. It's a sort of a 1970s style Marvel magazine cover. I think it's for the second issue of the book that he's doing. So I did a cover for him. There's a Lady Death cover coming out for Coffin Comics that I did last year. That's finally seeing print now. And then, like I said, right now I'm working on Swords of Mars, which is the next Mars cover. It's kind of, I don't know if I can get around. Show it to you. Yeah, so there's the new. That's the sketch and the finished pencil that I'm finishing up, and I'll start to paint this probably tomorrow.
When you're done, I'd like to have you, please.
What do you do with all your preliminary sketches and stuff? It's like clear that you would probably keep all your original art, but what do you do with all that stuff? Please tell me you don't throw it away.
Now you sound like my wife. She freaked out when she saw a lot of the preliminaries in a garbage pail one day. Yeah, well, a lot of the working drawings I tend to chuck, but the finished sketches and the color comps and stuff like that I have everything I've done, including like the multiple like revisional sketches for the Burroughs stuff, because I want to do an art book eventually that covers all of it, that shows all of the process, or all the paintings and stuff like that, because fans really like that. I found out they really like to see the magic happening, so it's I've kept everything for a future book. I've sold some over the years, some because a lot of the preliminaries that I do in the sketches I do on tracing paper, which I then turn into transfer sheets. So they have graphite on the back of them, and I trace over them to get the image onto the board. And then they're kind of useless. They're just a mess, and I tend to chuck those, which still really bothers my wife.
Yeah, till I'm on your wife's side. I will take all the jokes that you want to throw away at me.
Yeah, I know.
I just think it would be cool to like see the line work and stuff. That's for
well,
me.
Right? Well, like I said, this I could peel this off. This was the preliminary sketch for the cover I'm working on now. And what I do is I blow it up. The original sketch is maybe 9 by 12, and then I'll blow it up, and I'll do a tracing of. Let me see if I can get this up. I'll do a tracing of the big blow up. So I'll rub graphite on the back of it, and I'll trace it off onto the finished board. So this thing right here. I normally trash because it has no it's an absolute mess. But I don't know. Maybe I should keep them. I don't know. But it's just process stuff for me, so I tend to get rid of it.
I get you.
You look horrified. You look horrified by that knowledge.
Every single person on here is like losing their mind. Like, how much money do I have to give you for your trash can, sir?
Yeah, I know. I know. I should get better about that, especially seeing what like a Frazetta preliminary goes for these days.
Yep.
But yeah, it's I focus more on the finished pieces than I do on all of the crap that gets me there, you know.
So here's the funny thing is like everyone's over here like, yep, that's Jen's thing. It's like I've handled some like people's living estates for when they finish out their careers, and I tell them I will monetize every daggum piece of paper. Like you're canceled, like oh, here's your rate sheet, or you sent your email out to someone and like try to get work and got something back, all that stuff. I think it's historically important that people do want to know how does the sauce get made.
Yeah, I know, and like I said, it's I chuck my preliminaries, but if you look really closely on the wall in the back, there are Frank Frazetta Mars preliminaries hanging on the wall in the back.
Wow.
That's
Yeah,
smart.
so those are all his prelims for Princess of Mars. And when they came up for auction up a couple of years ago, I was like, they don't belong with anybody else more than they belong with me. So I was determined to put those.
Nice.
Agreed. All right, we're gonna wrap up. Do you guys want to share where people should follow you like on social media? If you do social media, where is the right place to figure out what's coming next for you that they don't know from this show?
I'm on Facebook and I post. I keep everybody up to date on everything that's going on. I do process shots of all my paintings on Facebook, so it's just under Joe Jusko. But yeah, I like this painting. I post like daily updates as the process of each painting as I'm working on them. I'm on Instagram also, though I haven't been on there for a while, only because it's too time consuming. But I'm on Instagram on the Jusko Art, and those are the only two I'm really on at the moment.
I'm just on Facebook at the moment.
At the moment, yeah. I'm just like you guys. I spend a lot of time on Facebook. I don't know. I feel like it's real community. So
yeah, I know a lot of people. I have a hard time with a lot of the I guess antagonistic type behavior on Facebook. I find Facebook to be incredibly beneficial for me to communicate with other artists and my fan base, and to keep them updated on what's going on. And like I said, I post process shots of just about everything I'm working on. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, and I explain what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and everything. So that's the place to go if you want to follow stuff like that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much. I'm very thankful that you guys are still working together and that you're just putting together this awesome book, because it's nice to have all of that gorgeous art all together in one place to be able to.
And there's a lot of stuff in it that a lot of people probably haven't seen, because I bounce around so much, and then that when you're dealing with like retailer exclusive covers and stuff that's done like for like other industries and stuff like that, you miss a lot of that. So it's all going to be sort of stuck in the same place now, and you'll be able to see stuff you haven't seen probably.
Yeah, like we were talking about art that you were making to trade. I didn't even think about those kinds of things being in there, that it would only really be seen by the person you traded with otherwise.
Right. Exactly.
Well, awesome. Thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate your time.
This was fun.
Thank you for everything.
Jen.
Hey, not a problem.
Guys next time. Bye.
This was great. Thanks.